let's talk a little bit about the couple that comes to you. How do you engage the couple?
Well, the initial consultation is, both parties come in and the first thing I say is, I congratulate them on deciding to investigate this option during this really painful process
Okay, wait,
because
hold on one second. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but they don't have to come in the same car, okay? They don't have to come in together in the same car. Everybody needs to be clear. You don't have to come in together in the same car. You can drive your car. He can drive his car. You just arrive at the same place on time, right?
Exactly. And it's funny because sometimes when I'm leaving my office and they've come in separate cars, they are outside talking together. But yeah, most times they come in separate cars. They do.
Okay, go ahead.
So, but yeah, it's painful. I mean, they can't even ride in the same car with one another. So that's why I congratulate them that, your first instinct is to be defensive and want to fight because you're hurt.
Yeah.
So it's counterintuitive in some respects to try and come in to, discuss mediation where you're going to try and be fair and reasonable with one another. So I start out by saying that, and then I explain to them that, mediation is a process where the two of you come to a decision about what's going to work best for your family. It's not going to be dictated by anybody, not the courts, not lawyers, not anybody, but the two of you. And my job as the mediator is to facilitate that discussion. I'm there to hold your hand and walk you through the process every step of the way to help you gather all the information that you need to create a settlement for the two of you and your family that's going to work best for you. And, it can't be a process where it's my way or the highway. It has to be a process where people are coming in open-minded and wanting to compromise on what is going to work best for their family. So it's really, I make it very clear to them that, this is what they're signing up for. And I also talk to them to make sure they're suited for it. Sometimes people just aren't in that place where they are able to peacefully reach agreements. And I might say, you might want to consult with an attorney to see what your other options are. They might consider collaborative law, which is another avenue that I'm trained in, where it's representation without litigation, where there are actually lawyers involved that actually are the ones sort of stepping into the peaceful place that their clients can't, to come to a resolution that's going to work for everybody. So I kind of feel them out to see where they are emotionally, to see if they're ready to move forward with a mediation process, and then explain to them what the mediation process is from my standpoint in terms of what I utilize.
Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of pre-work that's necessary for that couple to get ready to go through this process of mediation.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And so you take them through you facilitate the conversation, and ultimately what happens?
So ultimately, I mean, there's several sessions that we have. The parties have to, gather all their financial documentation. I generally have 2 financial mediation sessions with them. The first basically lays out the pieces of the puzzle. We talk about what the assets are, what the debts are, what the incomes are, and just kind of just lay things out. And then generally talk about, well, how would we maybe divide assets and debts? What might be an appropriate support amount? We'll go through the guidelines, but I also have the parties create individual budgets so they can see what they need to survive in separate households for them and their children. And I tell them in terms of the support guidelines, it's the legislature in their infinite wisdom have said, this is what you need to survive with these incomes. But some people will look at that and go, oh my God, I could never make it on that. And other people will look at it and go, oh, I don't need that much money.
Mhm.
So, it's just that it's a guideline. If you were in the court system, that's what you would get. But in mediation, you can figure out what would work best for you and your family. And so those are 2 sessions. The second session, we kind of pull things together. We kind of figure out, well, what looks like might be a reasonable settlement here, and generally map out what the terms and conditions are. Parties go offline, kind of talk. We might have to have some more discussions back and forth. They'll finalize those terms and conditions, and then I'll create what's called a marital settlement agreement, which will incorporate all those terms and conditions, which will help then be processed through the divorce. And if there's children involved, the first mediation session is going to be about how they're going to share their parenting time.
Mhm.
Because when children are involved, that's the cornerstone. We're going to build everything around how they are structuring parenting of their children.
Mhm.
So, how can we financially support that parenting schedule? Whatever it needs financially, how are we going to do that? So we start with that if there's children.
So is mediation typically shorter in time frame than litigation?
Much. I mean, in Pennsylvania, there is a 90-day waiting period, and we don't start processing the divorce until after we reach the settlement, because we want to keep the litigation out of it. But a mediation process, it takes about 3 months. It could be less time too. Depends on, the size of the estate, how motivated the people are, whether or not they've agreed on a lot of things. So the time frame is somewhere between overall from start of mediation till final divorce, 6 to 9 months. I have had cases in litigation for 5 years. So,
And the couple is paying for that time of that 5 years. So
oh yeah.
so the couple needs to understand that it may take 5 years, but you're paying out of the wazoo for that lengthy litigation process.
Oh, definitely. And even with the most straightforward divorce where you get a lawyer, it's going to cost each of you $5,000 easily. And, a mediation is, a third less than that.
Yeah. And you said $5,000 to retain the lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. But that's not where it ends though, right? It's
generally not.
$5,000, people. You're starting at $5,000 and it can go up and up and up.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, just a mildly litigated divorce is $20,000 to $50,000 easily.
So in mediation, then, is there a flat fee or is there a fee that goes on and on and on with the duration of the case? How does mediation fees, how are they structured?
I think everybody does it a little differently, but how I do it is I offer a flat fee for the full mediation, from sitting down with them, gathering financial documents, coming up with marital settlement agreements, doing the parenting agreement, and helping them prepare the paperwork to finalize the divorce. I don't represent them. I just help them prepare the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
So and it depends on how complicated the case is. But generally it runs from $7,000 to $10,000 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And that also might include some experts that the parties might have to engage for things like pension evaluations or house appraisals or the entry of qualified domestic relations orders to divide pensions. But then there's other options too. Sometimes people come and they say, we have an agreement. We just need you to draft it and help us process the divorce, prepare the agreement and help process the divorce. And that's obviously a much less flat fee. Then there's individual mediation sessions. Sometimes people come back and they say, well, we need to mediate this one session, and that's an hourly fee. If they go beyond the scope of what my full program is, there could be additional fees for additional sessions. So it's not a one-stop shop, but it's a pretty predictable set of costs.
Yeah. And that's 7,000 to 10,000 that you mentioned up front. That's for the couple, not per individual. So the wife is paying that, and then the husband is paying that. It's for the couple. Yeah.
It's per couple. Yeah.
Yeah. And then depending on their situation, you have a price set for those differences in what they may need.
Correct.
Okay. One of the benefits that I'm hearing that I want everyone else to get of you being an attorney mediator is that not only can you facilitate the settlement, the agreement, what they agree upon in terms of their children and their estate, but then you can also do all the paperwork that's required as well, the legal paperwork that's required as well.
Exactly. I can take off my mediator hat, I can put on my lawyer hat, and I can be the scrivener, the person who drafts all of that paperwork. With someone who is not an attorney, they can only do what's called a memorandum of understanding. And then the parties have to take it to an attorney so that they can draft it and go through that process. Now, the thing I do also want to say is, even after I do prepare that marital settlement agreement, because it's a legal document, I always encourage the parties to take it to what I call a mediator-friendly attorney, an attorney that understands the mediation process, who will go through the agreement and make sure the parties really understand it, and maybe even tweak it a little bit to tighten it up if they feel is needed. And I will do all the revisions that are suggested or requested as long as the parties agree upon them, because I want to make sure the parties understand what's all the legal ramifications in that marital settlement agreement, even though I read through it with them line by line after I draft it. I still encourage them, because it's a legal document, to be safeguarded, to have it reviewed by an attorney.
I get that. So let me ask you, we're coming to the end of our time together, but there's another question.
Already?
I tell you, I could talk to you all day. But the question that is going on in my head is, if I may play the devil's advocate for a second. Well, Lenore, this mediation stuff is for the high-powered executives who feel self-confident and empowered to come and work with you. That's for them, but not for someone like me who has been, told what to do all of her life. My spouse is the one that told me what to do and how to do it. She was, in charge of all the money. I mean, this doesn't seem like it's something for me, although I would love for us to come up with an agreement together and not go to court.
I don't think that's true at all. In fact, I think this is an opportunity for that spouse to feel empowered. And my job as the mediator, facilitating the neutral conversation, is to make sure that the power between the parties is balanced. So I always encourage the couples coming to me to get the support that they need through the process. If they don't know anything about the finances, I suggest that they talk with a certified divorce financial analyst to help them digest the finances. If they need the emotional support, I suggest that they get into therapy and have somebody help them process the dynamics. And then, if they feel that they need an understanding outside of the mediation process of what their legal rights might be, I suggest that they consult with an attorney. Not that they're represented by an attorney, but they consult with an attorney who can explain to them, well, if you didn't do this, what you might expect in court. So they know what their options are. I make sure that each spouse has all the information that they need and have the support that they need to make decisions that are not only in the best interest of the family, but also in their best interest as well. And I make sure that nobody, overpowers the other person. And if in the initial consultation, I get the sense that there's just too big of an imbalance of power there, I might suggest that maybe they consider collaborative law, where, again, they might have a legal representative to balance out the other spouse.
Got it.
In terms of the Peacemakers Project, I came up with that because a few years ago I went to the International Association of Collaborative Professionals conference in Philadelphia. And I heard an attorney, David Hoffman, speak, and he talked about lawyers as peacemakers. And I just thought my head was going to explode because I never heard anybody use those two words together. So I have come to know many other lawyers that seek to be peacemakers. And I have decided that I'd like to promote that more, especially in these days and times.
Yeah.
So I'm starting what I call the Peacemakers Project. I'd like to interview people that are lawyers that are peacemakers, or other people that are peacemakers, and try and give them, illuminate them to the world so that more people embrace that goal, that desire to be peacemakers.
And so is this going to be something on Facebook? You said interviews. So are you going to podcast this? Are you going to put it on your website? Where can one participate in the Peacemakers Project?
My vision is to start with Facebook podcasts and see where it goes from there. This is in the germination stage, but that is what I'd like to do. I'd like to promote lawyers as peacemakers, or peacemakers in general.
Well, to conclude our wonderful interview together, I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to speak directly to the wife, to the husband, to the couple who are contemplating divorce, or even those who are already starting a litigious experience together. What would you want to say directly to these couples?
What I'd want to say to them is, I know you're in a lot of pain right now. But if you come to me, I can help bring peace to this process. Just give peace a chance. You might be really glad that you did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lenore Myers, attorney mediator, Lenore Myers. This has been really wonderful. Every time I talk to you, not only do I feel uplifted, but I learn something. I learned something new, and I am well beyond divorce. It's been 8 years for me this year, but I learned something new. And every time I wish I had done this process than the other ways that we went about it. I think even my family would have healed a lot sooner and a lot better. The scar that's there wouldn't be so obvious. It's a scar, but it wouldn't be so obvious. So
and that's what I hope to help other people do. So
thank you, and we can't wait to look you up and follow what you're doing. And so I want everyone to feel welcome to look up Lenore's website. Again, her website that we're going to definitely post. Lenore, tell us one more time what your website is, and also that we can reach you on your by your phone number. Yes, your website one more time.
Divorce Done Differently, PA.com.
All right. Thanks so much, Lenore, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.